Welcome to the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education meeting for Wednesday, July 23rd, 2014. Mrs. Collins, has this meeting been properly noticed?
Yes, it has.
Can you please call the roll?
Dito?
Here.
Eliason?
Here.
Garner?
Here.
Herzog?
Here.
Lemberger? Saginaw?
Here.
Wiedenhoff? We have a quorum.
If you would, please, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first order of business this evening will be a recognition award, certificate of appreciation. I invite the following members and representatives of the Oshkosh Music Artist Series to come forward to be recognized for their many generous donations to the OESD Elementary Music Program. Kristen Mazarek, Hyde Music. Marla Ambas from Manila Resto Algoma Club. Chris Larson from Beckett's. Justin Mitchell from the Oshkosh Scene. Kristen Kane. Anthony Montalvo. Jessica Johnson and Mandy Mitchell, if you guys would come forward. I think we'll do this representative, the certificate at the end of this. For the viewing audience who is not familiar with the work you guys do, and it's outstanding work, by the way, I've seen part of it firsthand. On June 9, 2014, elementary school music educator Jackie Sandine and Principal Kirby Schultz and budding musicians Kieran and Faith were presented with a donation of $906 to support elementary school music programs at Webster Stanley, Oaklawn, and Oakwood schools. This donation is being used to purchase hands-on instruments such as drums, bells, etc. for each child to use in the music program. The funds are raised at the Spring 2014 Oshkosh Music Artist Series concert through ticket sales, while another $580 was raised through an auction and raffle to fund music lesson scholarships. The following are a list of contributors and volunteers who are part of this event: Dorothy Zerby and Danny and Michelle Jarabek from Copperbox, Marla Ambas from Manila Resto, Justin Mitchell from Oshkosh Scene, Kristen Mazarek from Hyde Music, Chris Larson of Beckett's, Anthony Montalvo and Jessica Johnson, Jesse Kuntz of the Algoma Club, Brittany Knoll, Kurt Stein, and the folks with the Guilty Wanted, Jason Byer and Cranky Pats, Michelle Hoffrero at WOCT 101.9 FM WRST, Rebecca Hoffman, Dale DeVries, Michael Cooney, Chelsea Drush, Mandy Mitchell, Joe Furlow, Leif Larson, Andrew Hansel, Ernie Greenwood, Jim Dorschner, the folks with Backlot Comedy House, Jeff Potts, and OCMS. Thank you as well as to all the businesses that donated to the raffle. Since the first concert in fall of 2012, the Oshkosh Music Artist Series has raised over $5,600 to support local music education. Through the first 4 shows, Hyde Music has paid over $2,000 to our music performers. Mark your calendars, if you would, please, for November 15th, 2014. Oshkosh Music Artist Series is in the middle of planning an awesomely expansive and inclusive community choir event that will be their biggest production to date, with over 100 performers. The show will be hosted at Beckett City Center atrium. At this time, we will present this certificate of appreciation. On a personal level, really, I mean, being a musician, what you guys do is awesome. I mean, what I see what's happening in the schools with little kids and music. If you don't have music, you don't have anything. So, very well done, you guys.
Thank you so much.
I would just like to add the Oshkosh Area School District has had a very long and proud history of music education, and that's reflected in so many venues throughout the community, and it's through efforts like yours that we can continue to serve our students. And I know this means a great deal to our students as well as the music teachers who strive to get those kids ready for the high school programs and into music as a lifelong avocation or as supporters. So thank you for your efforts.
Looks like board administrative reports. Board president's report is I am president for the evening and Matt is not. Superintendent's report.
Well, and that makes it very short. And the superintendent's good news report, beyond the celebration of honoring our Oshkosh Music Artist Series, is extremely short. And if we can move it to one slide, and I think it's so short that I don't even have a slide mover on it this evening. And lastly, it just simply lists out the calendar issues for the last couple of weeks, including 1 week of which I've been on vacation. So very short and sweet superintendent's report as opposed to a 7-minute oratorio. Thank you so much.
Are there other reports from committee chairs? Policy and Governance met on the 15th of July. We discussed Policy 453.5, Student Accident Illness Concussion Management Plan. This policy definitely needed updating to comply with state law. Brad Jadarsky did, and others have done some magnificent work with this to get us into compliance. The committee recommends moving this policy to the board for approval at our August 13th meeting. We also discussed Policy 411.3, Section 504 Plan, non-discrimination on the basis of disability. This was also an update recommended by WASB as we were going through all our policies and tried to get them into compliance. It also deals with training for all building administrators and psychologists who will be leaders in the buildings in regards to this. The committee recommends moving this policy also to the board for approval at the August 13th meeting. We discussed Policy 342.4, Programs for Children at Risk and Alternative Education Program. Julie Mosier led the charge on this one. This deals with essentially alternative education programs and development of a handbook. This would be brought back to the committee for review with some suggested changes. It's moving ahead nicely. Excellent work being done on this. And a prototype report to the board and what it would look like, including an area for outcomes to show successful programs, will hopefully be presented at the August 13th meeting. 4.3.1, student attendance. The DPI has changed once again and shifted and given more defined parameters as to actually what constitutes a whole or partial day of attendance. So we are updating our policy for that in regards to that. It's more of a rule, and the administration wanted us to be aware of this going ahead, so in case we started fielding questions from constituents, that we would know why that this policy has been changed. We also discussed 538, professional self-evaluation. This committee basically is recommending moving this policy to the board for approval at the August 13th meeting too. It basically removed speech and language therapists who are, I believe, in their own category from this this policy. Our next meeting is on the 19th at 10 a.m. That's all we have for policy and governance.
And we should note that the only reason these policies, we were not anticipating that we would have the requisite number of board members present for this meeting. Otherwise, they would have been on tonight's agenda. But we delayed that to ensure that we pass the act on policies with the requisite number of board members in attendance, which we do have, but we did not send out the agenda ahead of time to include those. So.
Stan is right. I mean, we decided that it was a good idea to have all the board members here to discuss these things. If they have something they want to say about it, we felt it would be better to be inclusionary than exclusionary. So, non-agenda related public forum. Please state your name and address and try to limit your conversation or your concerns to 5 minutes if you want.
I'm Daniel Lynch. I reside at 310 South Eagle Street. This may be the last time for a long time I choose to address this board, because I want to congratulate the Oshkosh school system. You can no longer find groups of students routinely smoking in the morning before school.
Right.
One example. A friend and I, in October, on a beautiful morning, it was a school day, we arrived at the North High parking lot areas and just looked around for an hour until all the students had gone in. We saw turkeys, we saw ducks. There were no deer came out to eat, but there were also no cigarette butts. And we did not see one student smoking. And I guess that's not unusual for North High because they've had a record of reduced smoking for a long time. At West High, starting in the fall, we usually could find a few students smoking. In fact, this past spring, if I went out on a rare nice morning, which was rare this spring, I might find 2 kids or 3 kids smoking in a car. They weren't standing around in groups smoking. And again, 2, 3, I congratulate the system that it's down that low. And I think I'll go on from there to the Center for Disease Control says that tobacco is still our #1 preventable cause of death, killing over 400,000 Americans a year. They have some wonderful materials on that website of the CDC for helping people quit, which would be nice, and I hope our health classes show some of them because they show people with holes in their throats and other kinds of illnesses that are a direct result. I'd like to refresh the memories of people here. In 1992, after the law was passed banning purchase and possession of tobacco by minors, I rode the bus. Came past here about 3 o'clock. Actually, came past West High about 3 o'clock, here a little later. And at that same time, school was being let out. Schedules were different then. You could count 100 kids lighting up as they left the door of Oshkosh West High School. It was just routine, even though purchase and possession was illegal. For many years, large groups of students met at Hawk and Porter in the morning before coming to Oshkosh West High, and I'd go and talk to them. And initially, there were a few students that were rude to me, but it got better and better over the years, and also the groups got smaller. At any rate, one last item here that I have in my notes, I should mention e-cigarettes, because this past year, if I saw kids smoking, it was 50-50 whether or not they would be doing e-cigarettes or regular cigarettes. Now, the research isn't in. I tend to think that e-cigarettes should be treated a lot like regular cigarettes, but I will admit that there's a lot less cancer-causing chemicals in e-cigarette smoke. The reason, I think, is that in the long haul it's cheaper for the smoker because you can cut the price of a nicotine hit by about 50% by smoking the electronic cigarette. Granted, you have to do an investment to get it to begin with, but ultimately the research is not in on that, and I do hope that the kids don't become just plain addicted to smoking through e-cigarettes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations, Oshkosh School System.
Thank you.
The district, as we know, has invested heavily over the years in the DARE program, which has helped promote smoking cessation, and the group called Rethink, and its predecessor, whose name escapes me right now, but also people like you, Dr. Lynch, who have continued to bring this issue to the fore as a means of improving the health of our children and our system. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly believe that the benefits of ever-increasing prices diminishes.
Sure.
I can't believe how much they cost. That's an incredible burden for individual with a habit.
If there's no one else on non-agenda, is there anyone here for agenda-related public forum? Seeing no one, it looks like we'll be going on for the consent resolution. For the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with the background material on each item or as discussed at a previous meeting. These will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. If a board member wants to discuss any item, it may be pulled out of the consent agenda and will be voted on separately. Any of you guys want to yank something out of here? We're on track to do like the fastest meeting ever. All right, the board will consider approval of minutes of special board meeting executive session on June 19, 2014. Number 2, minutes of June 18, 2014 board meeting. Number 3, minutes of July 9, 2014 board meeting. Number 4, bills payable. Number 5, personnel. A, appointments, resignations, and salary schedule. And 6, early childhood contracts. At this time, I would accept a motion to move these forward.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Collins?
Herzog?
Aye.
Herzog, aye. Lumberger? Saginac?
Aye.
Saginac, aye. Wiedenhoff? Vito?
Aye.
Vito, aye. Eliason?
Aye.
Eliason, aye. Garner?
Aye.
Garner, aye. Motion carried.
Looks like we're up to request for future agenda items. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to see brought up here for
I don't know if it needs to come to this board, but I'd like to not let the pupil services workshop just drop. Those individuals spent a lot of time and effort to put that together. And I didn't know if education committee was the place or this is the place, but how do we not let that drift away? My sense is to request that we put together some kind of a plan, 3-5 year, I don't know, to address some of those gaps, some of those concerns that the professionals had. I don't know what that looks like. I just don't want that to get away from us.
Sure. May we discuss that further administratively? We haven't had the full team together for 3 weeks now, and we'll come back with a report to the board on the appropriate channel to handle that.
Perfect.
So,
Just didn't want that to slip away.
Yeah, I would assume that, Kelly, just from my own take on it, it'd probably be a committee like education or something. Right.
Yeah.
Could we also expand that slightly to include the report that we heard earlier on the Riverside program and alternative programs for at-risk?
Right.
Or
Absolutely.
do that separately, I don't know, or in a parallel universe, but
Just don't want those things to slip away.
no, I don't either.
Several of those issues, as we're collecting, as we look at potential budget adjustments or additions, that we're putting on a list that we'll be bringing to the board at one time as we committed to. So those are pieces that, as we get closer to configuring our exact finances coming into this year.
Good, thank you.
Awesome. That's all I had.
If there's no other requests for future agenda announcements, anybody have any announcements? Well, at this time, a motion for adjournment would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Collins?
Lumberger? Saginac?
Aye.
Saginac, aye. Wiedenhoff? Vito?
Aye.
Vito, aye. Eliason?
Aye.
Eliason, aye. Garner?
Aye.
Garner, aye. Herzog?
Aye.
Herzog, aye. Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Felt thrown off there.